$100,000 Russian Geron-3 drones. So we flipped the cost curve even. So the United States, I know Europe claims to be doing the fighting, the support here, but it's our weapon systems that are proving themselves. And these are protecting critical infrastructure, that is electrical power grids, and then civilian population areas from Putin's wanton attack. So there's still good news going on there, Harry, but there's a lot. It's going to be a rough winter temperature-wise, and it's going to be a rough summer, I think, with a Russian counteroffensive.
Admiral, in the few minutes that we have, give us your assessment of President Trump's decisions relative to ISIS in Nigeria, and these other strikes that President Trump has authorized in terms of the boats that were running the drugs and so on.
So, look, first, he's done good work in Syria. Don't want to walk away from that, striking ISIS there. ISIS killed 3 of our people, or 2 of our people, and wounded one of our translators. Killed one of our translators, and he struck back. And this was not a small strike. It was a sustained F-15, A-10, Apache helicopter, 70 kind of element strike. So, it was a serious strike to hurt ISIS in Syria and punish them for attacking our personnel, our Iowa National Guard. Then he's done these attacks in Nigeria. And here, this is a complicated thing. I know a lot of your listeners will hear that it's about Christians. The ISIS is against is bad towards everyone in Nigeria, but they are bad towards Christians in Nigeria. They're bad towards other Muslim groups, and they deserve the heavy striking they got as well. So in both those cases, these are highly justified, and they're knocking down ISIS, which long-term has aims at the United States as well. So when we do this, we don't just regionally protect groups like Christians or Israel, but we long-term support, the homeland security of the United States.
Admiral, an honor to present you. I'm going to ask you to hold on because Justin is going to give you my private cell phone because my friend is going to be where you are, and we will get you what you need. Okay?
Thank you.
It is my pleasure and a pleasure to interview with you today. Thank you for your service. What a
thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome, sir. What a leader. Rear Admiral, retired Mark Montgomery. This is the Guy Benson Show.
Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products are compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Want a boost in and out of the bedroom? Hims has you covered. Introducing a new 2-in-1 approach to level up your game. Tadalafil for better bedroom performance and zinc for testosterone support. Put it all together and you've got what you need to turn things all the way up. Getting started is simple. Just go to hims.com/joy to start your free online visit. Through Hims, you can access ED treatments, including pills, chews, and more. 100% online. No office visits, no pharmacy lines. Just fill out a simple intake form and a licensed medical provider will determine if treatment's right for you. If prescribed, it ships free and discreetly to your door. Find affordable treatment options at up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy, HIMS.com/JOY.
It's the holidays, the festive time to play. If you party way too hardy, Silver Ride will save the day. Getting stopped can cost a lot.
Plus a night in jail.
You could even hurt someone.
An epic holiday fail.
So pass on your own sleigh.
There's a better way.
If your holly is too jolly, don't try to drive your sleigh.
Drive sober. No ho-ho regrets.
Sponsored by TxDOT.
This is Shannon Bream. Join me for Fox News Sunday as we sit down with a diverse and dynamic group of guests featuring interviews with political, business, and public affairs newsmakers from the U.S. and abroad. All part of the Sunday political block from Fox News Radio. Fox News Sunday, every Sunday.
Shannon has all the big news stories of the week. Don't miss it. Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream, 10 a.m. Sunday mornings, the voice of Texas.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 KGBC Galveston.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
If you're in the Northeast, it might be a good idea to stay indoors after a powerful winter storm blew through. National Weather Service meteorologist Andrew Orison says winds from the system are dying down compared to yesterday.
Buffalo, New York, yesterday, which had a 81-mile-per-hour wind gust, which occurred early in the afternoon hours. And more broadly across the region, the winds were quite strong. There was certainly some power outages and some downed trees as well. And those strong winds did contribute to some pretty low wind chills, given the amount of cold air that's been coming in across the Great Lakes and into the northeastern United States.
Tens of thousands of customers were without power early Tuesday, with Michigan hardest hit. The National Weather Service predicts snow squalls and gusty winds for the eastern U.S. New York's governor warned of whiteout conditions in parts of the state. America's top law enforcement officer insists the Trump administration is ahead of the curve when it comes to cracking down on a notorious fraud scandal.
Attorney General Bondi says so far 98 people, the lion's share of Somali descent, have been charged and more than 60 convicted in court in the massive Minnesota fraud scandal, defrauding taxpayers of billions of dollars through Medicare scams and bogus child care centers, among other schemes that have allegedly run rampant for years.
Correspondent Rich Thomason. President Trump has indicated the U.S. has hit a dock facility along a shore as he wages a pressure campaign on Venezuela, but the U.S. offered few details. Trump initially seemed to confirm a strike in what appeared to be an impromptu radio interview on Friday. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 94 points, the Nasdaq dropped 55. More at Town Hall.
At Audion Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
One of golf's greatest players is about to reach the half-century mark.
Tiger Woods played a game with which hardly anyone could relate. Now he approaches a milestone that makes him like everyone else. Woods turns 50 on Tuesday. This celebration is more about appreciating the past than wondering about the future. Woods has had more surgeries than the 15 majors he won. He is eligible for the 50 and older PGA Tour Champions League without any indication he will play. Woods has only played 11 times since he was badly injured in a 2021 car crash in Los Angeles. He didn't play on tour in 2025. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
New England Patriots star wide receiver Stephon Diggs is facing strangulation and other criminal charges related to an incident earlier this month. It's unclear what led to the charges. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
It's the holidays, the festive time to play. If you party way too hardy, Silver Eye will save the day. Getting stopped can cost a lot,
plus a night in jail.
You could even hurt someone.
An epic holiday fail.
So pass on your home sleigh.
There's a better way.
If your holly is too jolly, don't try to drive your sleigh.
Drive sober, no ho-ho regrets.
Sponsored by TxDOT.
The program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be clear and chilly with a low of 37. Tomorrow is expected to be mostly sunny with a high of 65. Tomorrow night will be clear with a low of 45. Thursday will be partly sunny and pleasant with a high of 71. Friday will be very warm, tying the record from 2000 with times of clouds and sun and a high of 81. Saturday will start with patchy morning fog that reduces visibility but will clear up to plenty of sunshine with a high of 73. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts.
Beautiful and healthy trees increase your property value, but sick, ugly trees will decrease the value of your home. That's why I recommend you call Ability Tree Experts at 281-441-4179. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can't replace.
That's why you need to call my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts. I've known them for over 40 years.
Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. Well-fed and pruned tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs. So don't wait to protect your investment. Call Louis Flory now at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, receive a deep root feeding with every tree pruned. That's Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Are you looking to retire or retire right? Tune in to Retire Right Radio, powered by RobertsWealth.com. We take pride in educating soon-to-be and current retirees by focusing on what matters most to them. Your financial future is about more than just money. Find out how we can help you retire right. Saturday mornings at 8 on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Or search and subscribe to Retire Right Radio on your favorite podcast platform.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisXRadio. ChrisXRadio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Chris X.
That's right. Ooh, that's a little loud again. This is Chris X Radio. My name is Craig Collins, filling in. Let me let this song play a little longer like Chris does. I can go ahead and fix that audio issue that we're having. Thrilled to be here. Lots and lots of stuff to talk about. Me filling in for Chris X. It is everywhere. You can find it on social media at Radio Craig C. I think I'm going to share it there. But at KSEV 700, I think, is on Facebook or on YouTube. We're live streaming again. You can call into the show if you want. I will take your calls when I can because I am doing all the things at the same time here. And I love that I was texting with Chris X after the last time I did this, where I broadcast in one studio and run the studio board for anyone that knows anything about radio in a completely different room. And Chris was like, I don't know how you did that. And I was like, yeah, it's not easy, but I decided to do it. I thought it'd be fun to do it. And here we are trying to do it again. But as I said, there's a lot of stuff out there to talk about, a lot of interesting things going on in the world of news, even though it's the end of the year. So sometimes when you get to this point in the year, you kind of think to yourself, man, I doubt there's going to be a whole lot of terribly newsworthy things out there. And you're violently wrong about that a whole lot of the time. Let's get right into it. This audio I thought was interesting. The director of ICE just revealed criminal investigations are likely coming in Minnesota. This is incredibly appropriate. St. Paul all over the place because of the Somalian fraud there. Let's go ahead and play on this thing and see what we got here.
The ground in Minnesota for a while now looking at these fraud claims. And one thing now the Homeland Security Investigation Special Agents are looking into is just that you said, that money trail of where this money is going to foreign
Follow the
aid.
money, baby.
Obviously looking at any type of links to any criminal activity, obviously terrorism activity. And one thing you will see is that ICE is actually out there going with criminal warrants to conduct these investigations. So all too often you hear that ICE is just out there terrorizing the community or conducting administrative work. We've been on the ground in Minnesota conducting criminal investigations, and Homeland Security investigations has gone door to door to a lot of these suspected fraud sites all over St. Paul and Minnesota, and we're learning a lot.
Yeah, I hope you're learning a lot. You know what's crazy about that is it took a 20-something-year-old YouTuber that calls themselves an independent journalist to get to the point where you tried to learn a lot in a lot of these places. I'm not necessarily blaming the federal government, although everybody probably deserves some level of blame here. But it is crazy. And the more you dive deeper into this, the more ridiculous the history of it becomes. What I mean by that is that if you look far enough back, in 2014, people are discussing the amount of fraud in Minnesota related to the Somalian community. You have people at certain hearings, people at town halls, just regular everyday human beings like me and you, yelling and screaming about how crazy things have become, and then the government people ignoring it. And that's government people on both sides. There's even some high-ranking Republicans now who have been gotcha'd in audio from years ago, seeming to be totally fine with what amounts to now a ridiculous amount of fraud. And one of the other crazy things, and I talked about this a little bit when Ben Strusan was in yesterday and he played the audio, is a 2018 news report that is exactly describing the stuff that's going on in Minnesota right now, in Minneapolis, all over the country right now. And it's crazy because that is the other thing I want to point out. And I'm sure at some point maybe we'll get to it in greater detail. The idea that this is only going on in Minnesota is abundantly stupid. To steal a term from President Trump, it's retarded to think that that's all that's happening out there in the world. It's everywhere. If you Google it right now, and I don't necessarily know that Google's the best platform to find information that's not biased, but you can get to a government website that the Trump administration put out somewhat recently that says that the amount of fraud that the government expects is in the 200 to 500 billion range year in and year out. And it's crazy that that's the range. But this is a study from, I think, 2018 to 2022 that looks at how much abuse of our system exists and why so many people, myself definitely included as a 40-year-old millennial, but so many people in other generations or just in general tell you should never, ever trust the government with money. You shouldn't give them any money. You should take all the money away from them you possibly can at all times because it's absolutely terrible for them to be the ones coming to you and asking you for any kind of assistance or claiming they're going to give you some kind of assistance as long as you give them some sweet, sweet cash. It is terrible. Another piece of audio that I really like, and I am definitely a fan of Joe Rogan, more so than maybe some other people here at this station. And Rogan definitely is not a conservative, by the way. He breaks bad all the time. The things I'm least a fan of involved with Rogan is when he says that Obama was his favorite president, which is insane. And Rogan usually couches that by saying he meant the way he behaved publicly, not the terrible things that the Obama administration did behind closed doors, which if you're dumb, and I don't think Rogan is, but a lot of people who are dumb only care about the public part. They don't care about anything deeper. Who cares about what was going on behind closed doors? It's sad to hear Rogan play along into that world. But anyway, this was Joe Rogan talking to a guest about Twitter, X as it's called now, and the importance of the purchase of this platform in today's society and how very, very different our world would look if Elon didn't drop down a tremendous amount of money, a terrible amount of money, honestly, more than the platform was worth at the time, to buy it. But here's a little bit of Rogan.
When Elon purchased Twitter, and I don't say this lightly, I think he changed the course of civilization. I really do.
I do.
I think we were on our way to this weird dystopian censorship complex that was already moving. We had already had intelligence agencies that were contacting Twitter. We know this through the Twitter files, and they were banning certain people that weren't saying incorrect things, but they were saying things that were inconvenient. And they turned out to all be accurate. All the things that they were warning about, all the things that they're saying, all turned out to be accurate. They stopped the distribution of the Hunter Biden laptops.
Yeah, I'll stop it there. He just gives that one example, but there's a bunch of examples. Of course, a bunch of the information that came out about COVID was censored in a way that made absolutely no sense in social media, and now is all abundantly confirmed to not only have been a good theory, but 100% true. Those are just a couple examples. There's a ton more, but Rogan goes on to talk about how significant of a purchase that was, because now a 20-something-year-old person who has a YouTube following, and by the way, YouTube says he only has 1.5 million, maybe 2 million views. That's Nick Shirley on his post outing the ridiculousness of the fraud in Minnesota. But Twitter says it's over 100 million. So you decide who you believe within those two, or which platform is not trying to suppress the amount of people that are seeing and reading this information. But anyway, Rogan goes on to talk about how impactful the decision to buy Twitter was, and how big of a deal it was, not just in the amount of information we now get to see that mainstream media would censor and everyone would censor, but how stupid the other guys look if they ignore it. And I think that Jimmy X called in yesterday, and he said that he was watching CNN. I feel bad for Jimmy for doing that. MS Now or MSNBC, whatever the crap it is. I don't even know if he was watching that one. I just know this falls in the same bucket. And they barely covered the Somalian fraud, the Minnesota fraud, whatever you want to call it. They barely touched it, which absolutely shows how biased and ridiculous they are. But here, a little bit more from Rogan.
Totally accurate story. And to stop that accurate story is wild. That is scary stuff.
It is.
That, if Elon didn't purchase Twitter, we would have just had to deal with that kind of stuff. That would be, and it would accelerate. It wouldn't stay where it is. It would ramp up. It would get more. They were started using the term malinformation. So there's misinformation, disinformation,
Correct.
and then malinformation. Malinformation is factual information that might cause harm.
Or being used inappropriately, according to the political people. This is factual information that they don't want us discussing. Malinformation is insane. And honestly, some of the stuff that was very Big Brother about the Biden administration and how they wanted to put people in positions of power to control what's on media, control what's not on social media, all that's insane. And I guess the big takeaway from this, or the most valuable aspect of having a discussion about something like this 2 days before Christmas, it's the 30th of December, or 2 days before, New Year's Eve. It's the 30th of December, and I'm talking to you about the amount of fraud and the covering up of fraud that exists in our society. It's not exactly a desire of mine to dive deep into this rabbit hole at this point on this day. But it has to be done, because the only way to keep the bad guys in check, the only way to make sure that they don't keep doing the bad things behind closed doors, is to show them they can't close the door. You have to do it. You have to show them, whoever you are, whether you're a radio guy like Chris X is, or I am, or anybody else out there is, the Amigos on Friday. By the way, Senator Paul Betancourt, I apologize, sir, for not using the correct name. He was on The Dana Show, nationally syndicated radio show. It happened to have a guest host today. I'm going to play back some of that interview. It was me interviewing Paul Betancourt about one of the bigger things he announced in the world over the last 24 hours, finding the actual versions of fraud that exist in some of the voter rolls here in Harris County, here in Houston. That is another checkbox of, man, people said that was a thing. It's a conspiracy theory. How dare you? Wait a minute, it's true. Even if it feels like it's on a small scale, these sort of things matter. And as I said to the senator, and I'll say to you throughout the show today, without us doing this stuff, without us talking about these things as much as so many people do, the bad guys keep doing the bad things behind closed doors. So the whole point, a couple days before the holiday, to talk about this serious stuff as much as I intend to, is to make sure we put as much pressure as we can, however little I am, as a fill-in guy on KSEV today for the Chris X radio show, but do as much as we all can do to make sure that they know that we're paying attention, because that's the biggest benefit, as conspiratorial as that sounds, but also just simply true. If you show the people you're watching, and actually I have a big update on the most viral of the places that Nick Shirley went to show the ridiculousness of fraud in Minnesota, the Quality Leering Center, the place that misspelled learning by forgetting an N on there, which doesn't look good for teaching people anything. But I have an update on the crazy thing that happened yesterday at the Quality Leering Center that's truly hilarious, and then actually an interview that was done. So I'll get to that. We'll get to some more things. We're going to have a fun show, though, too. It's a holiday. I like to have fun on the holidays, filling in for anybody. So a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. This is Craig Collins filling in on Chris X Radio on the Voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC, all afternoon. You can call in. You can be a part of the show. I'm not sure how I'll take the calls and how many I'll take, but 281-558-KSEV is that phone number, 281-558-KSEV. More coming up in just a little bit.
How many times have you switched your health insurance in the last few years? How many times have you wanted to switch your health insurance the last few years? If you're in good health and pay your own insurance, you don't have to settle for scary high deductibles or unaffordable premiums. Let American Medical Plans find the right plan for you at a price you can afford. Call 833-500-PLAN. No, this is not some ridiculous Obamacare plan with no doctors in a limited HMO. And it's not some rinky-dink insurance company that doesn't cover a single claim. No, this is real coverage for you and your family. Go to the doctors and hospitals you choose. Stop shopping around hunting for the best deal. American Medical Plans will do the hunting for you. Get you a better plan at a better price. You owe it to yourself to see what they can do for you. Get it done before the rates go up. Call American Medical Plans, 833-500-PLAN. That's 833-500-7526. Or go to AmericanMedicalPlans.com. American Medical Plans. Quality plans managed by you, not the government.
There's only one Trump conservative running for Texas Comptroller. Don Huffines is a successful businessman who will bring a private sector mindset to the office and safeguard our tax dollars. A strong ally of President Trump, Don Huffines will stand with him to secure our border and stop all taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens. And Don Huffines will fight to eliminate every woke DEI program in every government agency in Texas. A champion for our conservative values, Don Huffines will stop transgender indoctrination in our schools and protect women's sports. That's why Don Huffines is endorsed by every major conservative organization in Texas, including Gun Owners of America and Texas Right to Life. Republican Don Huffines, the only Trump MAGA conservative running for Texas Comptroller.
Political ad paid for by Don Huffines' campaign.
Whether you're playing with your kids or playing for the Houston Texans, a sprain, tear, or nagging ache can set you back. Until your expert orthopedic team at Houston Methodist uses advanced technology to personalize a treatment plan that's minimally invasive, healing your pain, and getting you back to life on your terms. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine. Official healthcare provider of the Houston Texans.
This report sponsored by Gallery Furniture. If made in America is important to you, come to Gallery Furniture. Buy it today, get it today. Gallery Furniture saves you money.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be clear and chilly with a low of 37. Tomorrow is expected to be mostly sunny with a high of 65. Tomorrow night will be clear with a low of 45. Thursday will be partly sunny and pleasant with a high of 71. Friday will be very warm, tying the record from 2000 with times of clouds and sun and a high of 81. Saturday will start with patchy morning fog that reduces visibility but will clear up to plenty of sunshine with a high of 73. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
Hurry up to Gallery Furniture's gigantic New Year's Super Sale for the best night's sleep of your life. Save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic sleep sets. Save up to $800 on Stearns & Foster sleep sets. Start your new year off right with the best sleep ever. This is a gift that keeps on giving, the gift of a great night's sleep. Better energy, better cognitive abilities, better ability to fight off viruses, sleep better, live better. It starts at Gallery Furniture. Free delivery tonight.
Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Mistletoe hung where
This is ChrisXRadio on the Voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC, simulcast in both those places. Also, just because I want to keep selfishly promoting it, we are live on social media. We're live streaming on Facebook. KSEV 700, I think, is the Facebook page. Also, YouTube. KSEV Radio is the YouTube page. And Rumble will be back in a bit. And then hopefully X. Hopefully we start live streaming on Twitter, too. Even if the audience isn't that big on those platforms, the value of it long-term should be pretty big for our station. So I'm trying as hard as I can to make it a thing that at least I do whenever I'm here, whether it's my Saturday show or filling in for somebody. Moving forward, it's something I plan to do all the time. Also, it's just fun. To me, honestly, it's just fun. All right, there is a bunch of stuff to talk about out there in the world of politics. I did mention this interview that I thought was sort of surreal that happened. The Quality Learning Center, which is actually what it is called because the N is missing from learning in this center, had a bunch of kids at it today, which is the absolute most predictable thing you could possibly do. It was, flooded with children. The guy who says he runs the place says the actual operation hours of the business are from 2 to 8 o'clock at night. So that's why the podcaster, Nick Shirley, didn't see anybody there when he went to the place. That's obviously all it is. No big deal, nothing to see here. But this is the exact kind of thing that these same groups of people used to do, or probably still do all the time, since 2018, whenever they were caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Whenever it was shown to society that they were doing something bad, that they were defrauding the government or defrauding, taxpayers, they had people show up. So this is the guy talking for the organization and saying why he thought it was unfair what Nick Shirley did. I do want to play this audio because this will wind up being, I assume, the narrative on the left of how the ridiculous amount of, it wasn't just one place. He uncovered a ton of places that had absolutely nothing going on, and we're probably going to find out all of them are after-school programs, of course. None of them operate during the day. But it's funny that this one place is trying to defend itself the way it's doing it, because actually you had a politician out there in Minnesota who didn't know about that. They were not coordinated on the fraud and the description of the fraud. So the person who went out there essentially said, yeah, that place has been closed for a while. It's been closed forever, really. It's never been open. Did it ever exist? That was the version a politician went down trying to explain this away. Instead, we moved the goalpost this way as the guy standing in front of the facility.
What would you say to Nick Shirley, the YouTuber, if he was standing in front of you
I have
right
nothing
now?
against him himself, but I do have something against the rhetoric. If you're going to be a journalist, just have a moral compass. Like, do what you do correctly. If you catch business that are fraud, no one here is with that. Or like, we don't support that as a community.
Okay.
I don't support that myself. I was born and raised here. I'm not for fraud. Like, the notion that, hey, a certain batch of somebody got caught, so all of them support it. It's like, no one, if in any community, any mishaps that happen, the rest of the community on.
And I already got to stop it right there, and I'll play the audio more again in a second. I love that he calls it mishaps. Millions of dollars of fraud that is for sure happening. He's claiming at his facility it's not, and that seems ridiculous. But even if you were to accept his word, which I'm not telling you to, we don't. Almost no one, I think, is going to assume this guy's telling the truth. But even if you were to do that, it doesn't mean the rest of the fraud didn't happen. And to call it a mishap is insane. But here, let's continue a little bit.
Doesn't want that to happen. It's a stain on all of our names, as you guys can see. We don't want that to happen. We don't take part in that.
No.
We don't want that
Darn
in
it.
communities. But just to say, hey, a certain company got caught, so they must all do it. And I feel like that's what he's doing. I'm not a fan of that.
That's not at all what he's doing, by the way. The description of how that went about, according to that person standing in front of that facility, is like the YouTuber went to one location, saw that it wasn't operating, maybe saw that they were connected to fraud, went home and said everybody else is doing it. That's the exact opposite of what actually occurred. The person and his listener, the guy named David, who wound up being coordinated with Nick Shirley to do this, seems like he's just a follower of his on social media, a follower of his YouTube page, and someone who had unique information, someone who's in the know in how to locate stuff, how to find the right people and the right, discussion, how to start that conversation, I guess. So you get that guy, you go around and you visit place after place after place and uncover tremendous amounts of fraud from the lack of anyone being there. There's even a viral tweet now. It's a totally different guy, but there's a viral tweet out there of all the names of the locations, and the names are ridiculous. There's like Genius Kids Care, and then We Care for Kids Care, and all these places. Some of them are actually in like grocery stores in adjacent buildings. So you go to like the halal meat market, and then right next door to it is Bright Kids Today Care place or whatever. It's insane. It's ridiculous. And the fact that it's been going on for so long, and it's so terrible and ridiculous, is honestly the kind of thing that makes you wonder how anyone out there could claim they didn't know. The Wallses of the world and everyone else who say, oh, there's no way. There's no way this is a thing we're aware of at all. Come on, seriously? There is other stuff going on, by the way. There is other stuff to get to. So I promise we will go well beyond that story. Two bigger news things involve the United States and Venezuela, and then the United States tangentially involved with what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. As far as the Venezuela update goes, I kind of love something that Trump did yesterday in a response to a question about this. He was asked what happened to the facility that got bombed. There was a facility that was blown away. He said the facility is one that was obviously connected to the drug trade in Venezuela. It was essentially the place where they put all the stuff that then they loaded onto the boats. And so he blew it up. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Fairly proud of the decision to do that. And he should be, because blowing up people and blowing up, locations that are tied to drugs is inherently a good thing in our society. It is the kind of thing that makes everybody better, even if the drugs aren't coming here. I've been saying that in response to the stupidity of something coming out of the left, which is the drugs don't come here. The drugs are going somewhere else. Why do we care about those if the drugs don't land here? And talk about the stupidity of that statement, because, of course, it's still bad. Even if it goes through the United States and then goes somewhere else, still bad and still good to blow it to smithereens. That still seems like a very good thing. But so anyway, I thought it was interesting when a journalist tried to ask Trump what they assume are got you questions. And I think Trump 2.0 is better than Trump 1.0. And the reason I say that, not that they're terribly different. Both of them are relatively similar in how they treated media and how they treated many, many things. But the thing I like more about the second version of Trump is he feels completely devoid of caring about anything that could happen, like any fallout of this answer to this question or whatever this is that he says or whatever the action is that he takes. He feels like a more efficient version of the person that was in office the first time, and it feels like he has better people in place, a bunch of the places he needs to have good people, like Kash Patel, like Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is iffy with me, but like those people, because they're telling us they're going to go after this hard. They're going to hold people responsible. People are going to go to jail. I'll believe it when I see it, but I do like hearing it. But anyway, this is Trump standing next to Benjamin Netanyahu, being asked a question about a Venezuelan facility that is no more. And I thought his answer was chef's kiss, just so good in how little crap he gave that someone was trying to turn this into a political controversy at all. Here we go.
About the explosion in Venezuela that you mentioned in the radio interview, did the military do that? Can you share more details about
Well, it doesn't matter, but there was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. They load the boats up with drugs, so we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. That's where they implement, and that is no longer around.
There's something amazing about the simplicity of that. That thing that they used to put all the drugs on all the boats, it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. And more stuff like it, if they try to replace it, it'll also be gone. Trump also responded to a question about Iran and some of the things that might be going on there, some building up of an arsenal again, potential exploration of more nuclear program stuff. And Trump was very matter-of-fact there. He goes, they mess around, they're going to find out as well. And then finally, one last thing, the ongoing stuff between Ukraine and Russia. So the latest there is Russia is claiming that an attempt was made on Vladimir Putin. They are saying that that Ukraine did it, that his residence was attacked. Ukraine is saying that obviously that's not true, that this is Russia's attempt to blow up a peace deal at the 1 yard line because they have no interest in peace. Essentially, Russia is doing its Russia thing, according to Vladimir Zelensky and Ukraine. Here's what I'll tell you about that, and I'll tell you that more plainly than a lot of people who do what I do for a living or do what anybody does for a living will say it. Not that people here don't do it. Actually, this station is very good at this. But I'll tell you it very plainly. I don't trust anybody in this situation. It is impossible to implicitly trust Ukraine. Brett Baer asked a question to Vladimir Zelensky about the ridiculous amount of fraud that is still taking place in Ukraine. And the crazy thing about that, and saying it out loud, is just put yourself in the position to realize that right now they are in a fight for their lives, basically. They've been in a fight for 4 years. They're getting a ton of money and support because of that. And there are still people stealing it. There's still people in that place that are like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather have this money than anybody else, so I'm just going to take it. And I'm going to assume I'm not going to get caught, and then potentially you are getting caught. That's what's crazy about this whole situation to me, is that people would still be doing the thieving at a time when you would think everybody would, at least for a little while, stop the thieving. But they don't care about that. They've never cared about that. All they care about is as much of the thieving as they can possibly do. So again, it's uniquely sort of terrible to think that they would 100% be capable even of telling the truth. Unfortunately, they are not. And so what I do think is really important to remember is that even though I side with Ukraine in their fight against Russia, even though I would want them to be victorious as much as possible in defending themselves from an attack that happened that they didn't start, the provocative action was not theirs, all of that, I understand that there's no one in this situation that I can implicitly believe, and that causes problems. That is one of the reasons that I believe Trump would just like this thing to end. He'd like to do everything he can to help it get past the goal line, to help it just be over, so that we can go on with a world in which this fight does not exist, and we don't have to feel the need to write blank checks to a place that we just simply can't keep writing blank checks to. And I'll say one last thing before I take another break on this topic, and I'll find the audio. I'll play it in a bit. I don't have it in front of me. I thought I did. It's bounced off my computer. But Brett Baer did ask Vladimir Zelensky, as I said, that, the fraud thing seems like a problem still, and Zelensky's answer was terrible. And no matter what I think of wanting Ukraine again to succeed in their fight, I have to be honest, when a terrible answer is as awful as that one was. But I know that Ben Strusand had a very definitive opinion yesterday on the show, and it's playing in our Stru View about what he thinks is the mistake being made between the United States and Ukraine and Russia in an offer of protection. And I think Ben is obviously in the know in saying that there's a tremendous likelihood that the U.S. would not live up to this if Ukraine was attacked. And I think that's probably true. I think that if Ukraine got attacked again in the next 15 or 50 years, whatever the actual agreement winds up being, Ukraine is pushing for 50. The U.S. is saying 10 to 15. The odds of us actually putting boots on the ground to defend Ukraine against Russia, extremely low, because that means World War III. There's no version of that doesn't escalate to that. Putin knows it. The U.S. knows it. Everybody knows it. And Ukraine has desperately wanted that version of a fight for a while now. They don't want to be the only guys in the room fighting the bully that's slowly, taking over their country. They want everybody fighting that bully together. However, if you don't make that offer, you can't get peace. And then so what's the alternative would usually be my reaction to how we get to a point where we inevitably end the fighting. Yeah, sure, it would be embarrassing for the United States to make an offer and not live up to the offer. Sure, that would be embarrassing. It's not like that hasn't happened before. We have done that before. I'm not advocating for that. I would hate to see something like that happen. I would want the deterrent and the possibility of the U.S.'s direct involvement in conflict to be the reason Russia didn't invade Ukraine after all of this is over for a tremendous amount of time. But if it did, do I think that the United States would unfortunately do the thing that I often criticize them for doing when it's the Democrats who are in power? Be the paper tiger, be the vocal version of we're going to do this, but then not actually live up to it? Yeah, I would hate that. But how else do you get peace? If I'm President Trump, if I'm sitting in that room, I'm telling Ukraine, which has defended itself, that you're going to give up territory for this thing to end. And they're going, look, if we give up some of our territory, our belief is Russia's just going to come back for more in the very near future. How can you protect us? If that's the question, and I'm Trump, I say, I'll do it. I'll protect you. And actually, you know what? I'll go a step further. And this is a crazy thing to say, but I'm going to say it on the radio because I actually believe it. For the remaining years that Trump's in office, I think he might actually do it. I think if Russia was crazy enough to invade Ukraine again after Trump says, I've got you under my protection, I think there is a strong possibility that Trump would go, all right, we are at war. Like, this is happening. The worst version of this in society, we are seeing it. So I would actually almost believe Trump was being authentic in his promise. The person after President Trump, which is the problem, would probably nowhere near be as willing to do the thing that Trump agreed to. But at least at the time that he's in office, he wouldn't be the one, disregarding the promise. And so I don't know. I just find it interesting, but I don't know how you can torch the idea that a peace agreement involves an offer of protection, because that's one of the only ways to get to the point where you actually have the agreement. What else do you want to do? Just watch the entirety of Ukraine get taken by Russia? Because that will happen. The longer we wait, the longer nothing happens, and I think Trump gets this, the longer there's no peace deal, the inevitability that a years-long addition to a years-long war is very bad for the weaker of the two people fighting. It is inevitably the end of Ukraine as a whole. to just let them keep fighting that, even with our money, even with our weapons, for a tremendous amount of additional time. It just doesn't end differently. And so I'm heavily critical of the person that craps all over anything out there when the alternative is actually worse. And in this case, the alternative to, I think, what Trump is offering is tremendously worse. All right. That was another rant. Like I said, I do have audio. I do have things I intend to play. We're going to do a lot of stuff on the show as much as we can. I maybe am having a lag issue on social media, so I'll do my best to try to fix that out too for anyone commenting there, like George and Tombaugh, who's commenting on social media. You can comment there if you want to get a message to me in a way that's easier than me trying to answer a phone while live on the radio. But we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll do more stuff. This is Craig Collins filling in, ChrisXRadio, the voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC. Thrilled to be with you here in Houston.
Chris X here to tell you about Humble Amco Transmission and AC Specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that Chris X sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862, or online at humbleamco.com.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate in O'Hara Homes. Davy Crockett addressed the Tennessee Congress after losing his bid for his seat. You may all go to hell, I'm going to Texas. Apparently a lot of other people from other states are feeling the same way lately. We have people coming to Texas from every state in the union. I think they are looking for a state with more conservative views. The word Texas comes from the Caddo Native American language, which means friends or allies. Texans are some of the friendliest people on the planet. If you're moving from another state, Texans will treat you well. If you're fleeing from a liberal state, leave those views there. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393. Again, that's 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. If you need any type of construction work done, call O'Hara Homes at the same number, 281-373-3393. Davy Crockett ended up being an historical figure in Texas history and embodied the Texas spirit. God bless America and God bless Texas.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts. Beautiful and healthy trees increase your property value, but sick, ugly trees will decrease the value of your home. That's why I recommend you call Ability Tree Experts at 281-441-4179. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can't replace. That's why you need to call my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts. I've known them for over 40 years. Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. Well-fed and pruned tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs. So don't wait to protect your investment. Call Louis Flory now at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, receive a deep root feeding with every tree pruned. That's Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Remember when you got an honest day's work for an honest day's pay?
Seems like days gone by.
And Roland, remember when you could watch the news on television and actually believe what you heard?
I wish those days would return.
Remember when you could count on a contractor to do a great job and you would be happy with the result?
On that, you just need to call the right contractor.
This is Deb and Roland Tejada from Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. Integrity matters to us now just as it did then.
Tejas Roofing is a family-owned company. We have a proven record of excellence and a skill to get the job done right. And yes, you can count on that.
We care about your hard-earned money, and we want you to be happy with your investment. When you need roofing repairs, a new roof, or remodeling, call us at Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304. Your Houston Roofing and Remodeling Company. See our work online at TejasRoofingandContracting.com, 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
This is ChrisXRadio, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Thrilled to be with you. So much stuff out there to talk about. As I said, I did do an interview with State Senator Paul Betancourt. Oh, this audience definitely knows quite well. While I was filling in on The Dana Show. The Dana Show is nationally syndicated all over the country. My recommendation for how you'd listen to it in our community has nothing to do with the radio. You can listen to it on podcast, The Dana Show. You can find it at Radio America, the website. You can actually listen to it live when it airs, way before it's airing anywhere close to us here. You can listen to it live at radioamerica.com. So if you want to do that for some reason, you can. I recommend listening to KSEV all day long. So that's my take. But there are a lot of ways to listen to The Dana Show. In about 20 minutes, I'll be playing some of the interview I did with Paul Betancourt, Senator Betancourt, on national radio, because I really liked it. I liked one of the things that he was very focused on and the importance of the topic, because it essentially outs a bunch of the corruption that takes place in the world of voting, even right here in Harris County, right here in Houston. And that's the point. The point is to show people the how we get to the bad places that many of us know we're in. But all right, I mentioned this a few times. I do want to play this, and then we're going to move on to something more fun. But this is Bret Baier with Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, asking about that pesky fraud that continues to exist in Ukraine as they're defending themselves against Russia in a war, which is sort of surreal to say that there's still in a bunch of, embezzlement and fraud going on in a place that's simply trying to survive for the last 4 years. This should be the biggest smoking gun version of a discussion about why it's hard to fully throw your faith behind Ukraine, even as you continue to help them defend themselves against Russia. There is no reason to let Russia take that country over. I'll be definitively clear in that in case people want to mishear me or accuse me of being some, horrible Putin apologist person. The man disappears people. I am definitely not a fan of Vladimir Putin, although I would be uniquely terrified of him if I lived in that country. But here's Bret Baier with Vladimir Zelensky.
In a number of quarters about corruption, about money going in. You had in recent days, Ukraine's anti-corruption agency raided government offices and parliament tied to this $100 million kickback scheme involving members tied to you. There were 5 suspects, including your ally, Timur Mindich, as well as your justice minister, who were charged last month with money laundering. And then you had anti-corruption officers raid the home of your former chief of staff, Andrei Yermak. He has not been charged, but he did resign. This is happening.
Bad.
So what do you say to people about the concern about corruption inside Ukraine today?
Yeah, I feel like another way to say that is all these things I just listed seem horrible and terrible, and especially when you think about the things they're potentially taking away from people that are admirably trying to defend themselves. The people who are doing everything they can to make sure that their country does not get taken over by Russia. How do you respond to the fact that there's terrible people inside Ukraine stealing this money?
Look, I'm focusing on the war. What about anti-corruption agencies? They do what they have to do. They have all their independence. Nobody is stopping there. They are checking what they have to do, and we are not stopping. It doesn't matter what person, close or not, we know that or not, or we don't. They have to do their work. This is war. This is democracy the same way. Yes, and we have to respect it.
He basically says, I don't like the fact that they're getting caught. Like, I know I'm adding words, so I don't want to say that is definitively what he says. But that's basically what I hear from Vladimir Zelensky is these people that are checking on fraud have to do the checking, and we can't interrupt them and stop them from the checking they're doing, and they're catching people, and that's good, of course, because in a democracy, it's a yada, yada, yada version of I'm happy about it because I can't be mad. I can't possibly tell you that the alternative of this is a good thing, to just look the other way and let this fraud exist, because of course it's terrible. Of course it's awful. So glad somebody's doing their job at all. And again, that really is the biggest part to me of how you get to the place where you try to say, no matter what we do, no matter how we try to support this country, there's inevitably going to be questions that people are going to ask. And here, I'll go to that a little bit more. And I'll tease the audio I'm going to play of Senator Betancourt and I talking on a different program earlier today. I thought it was really cool that Senator Betancourt did the thing that everyone else should be doing. And here's what I mean by that. He said something. He even, filed some paperwork that said that, hey, you guys here in Houston and Harris County, you're breaking a law. I made the law. The law is just 4 years old, and it essentially tells you that someone cannot vote if the address they've provided is a P.O. box. Because as Paul says, nobody lives in a P.O. box, which is true. Outside of, a mouse, no one does live in those places. But anyway, you can't vote if you're in a P.O. box. Then 4 years go by. Senator Betancourt goes, I'm pretty sure you're still letting people vote if they have a P.O. box. So he checks on it, and he tells them, hey, this is the rule. This is the law. I'm paraphrasing the way this went down. I'm making it my own version of it. But you can't do that. And everybody that he accused of this came out saying it's not true. The people involved are, how dare you? Please, this is ridiculous. Nobody is doing this. And here's the part I love. This is the version of, the YouTube guy showing up in Minnesota. Paul went a little further. And he's like, let me just check the addresses that we used as an example of where you can't live. The P.O. boxes tied to like UPS places. Let me just use those addresses and see if anybody's still on our voting records that lives in those places. And guess what? Yes, they do. Absolutely, they do. I think he found like 100 people, and you'll hear more about it in a little bit. But that's crazy. So then you send the more strongly worded, the not just accusation, but the definitive fact version of hey, you're screwing up. This is illegal. Let's get this fixed. And even if, and I'll say this as clearly as I can before I think I need to take one more break, because I'm probably late on a break before we take another break and then come back and do the rest of the show and play Paul Betancourt in about 15 minutes or so. Even if it's not impacting the elections in Harris County, which it might be, I don't know. I think that you still need more information to get there. This feels like the template for what people are doing other places. Minnesota is a template. Minneapolis is a template of what is going on a tremendous amount of other places. One of the ways that fraud seems to have been outed recently is President Biden's campaign and promise to pay rent for people. 30,000 dead people got rent payments from a organization, a system in our government that was created during COVID, which is insane. Just another thing on the fraud pile. So I do think what Senator Betancourt is doing is starting to give us the mechanism to the bad guys, and we need as many of those as we can get. So it's great. And like I said, coming up in a little bit is our conversation from National Radio. We talk about a couple things beyond just that. But quick break, a lot more. Craig Collins filling in. ChrisXRadio, the voice of Texas, KSEV and KGBC.
This report sponsored by Gallery Furniture. If made in America is important to you, come to Gallery Furniture. Buy it today, get it today. Gallery Furniture saves you money.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be clear and chilly with a low of 37. Tomorrow is expected to be mostly sunny with a high of 65. Tomorrow night will be clear with a low of 45. Thursday will be partly sunny and pleasant with a high of 71. Friday will be very warm, tying the record from 2000 with times of clouds and sun and a high of 81. Saturday will start with patchy morning fog that reduces visibility but will clear up to plenty of sunshine with a high of 73. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
Hurry out to Gallery Furniture gigantic New Year's super sale for the best night's sleep of your life. Save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic sleep sets. Save up to $800 on Stearns & Foster sleep sets. Start your new year off right with the best sleep ever. This is a gift that keeps on giving, the gift of a great night's sleep. Better energy, better cognitive abilities, better ability to fight off viruses, sleep better, live better. It starts at Gallery Furniture. Free delivery tonight.
I've been talking for years about Chip Beresford and the Pine Box and saving money during one of life's most difficult times, the death of a loved one. Now, Chip is taking his revolutionary low-price, high-value concept to the service side of funerals and cremations with Beresford Funeral Service. Call Chip at 1-888-PINE-BOX or visit thepinebox.com. Chip not only saves people money on caskets, he now offers affordable funerals and cremations with his own funeral home. The average cost of a simple funeral today can easily exceed $10,000. At Beresford's Funeral Service, families now can save thousands of dollars on funerals and cremations without sacrificing quality or dignity. Haven't you lost enough already? When that time comes, call Chip at 1-888-PINE-BOX or visit thepinebox.com. That's Chip at 1-888-PINE-BOX or visit pinebox.com.
Hi, y'all. It's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. You know, with all the scary stuff we've been through, it's still true that timing is everything, and the time to buy is now. But don't go looking without a solid pre-approval in hand. And this includes an application and a detailed discussion about property taxes. If you didn't have the talk, about property taxes, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. Mortgages are personal. Let's face it, we're dealing with your home and your money, and it doesn't get much more personal than that. When it's the largest transaction that most people will ever be involved in, imagine having someone on your side looking out after you. What a concept. We audit your closing statement to make sure you're not paying for things that you're not supposed to. Do you think your big bank's going to do that? Probably not. For all of your mortgage needs, call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213. Shopping insurance? Contact Joe Wardell. He's an independent agent, and he can look at what you have, shop and see. His number, 281-944-9025. Joe Wardell, 281-994-9025.
If you want to sell your business, Sunbelt Texas. Their website, sunbelttexas.com. Or contact Dan at 281-440-5153. He does a great job and really helpful. Give Dan a call today, 281-440-5153. Sunbelt Texas.
Listen up, Texas conservatives. A full-blown communist is now the mayor of New York City. Here is Zohran Mamdani in his own words.
I am a democratic socialist, and most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
President Trump is fighting back.
We have a choice between communism and common sense.
And that choice for Texas is Brett Jensen for Congress. Brett Jensen, Texas job creator, Trump conservative, and proud capitalist. When communists try to tear our country down, Jensen will stand up and fight. Listen.
I'm here to defend capitalism. Capitalism is what made America great.
Brett Jensen started his first business at 13, created thousands of jobs in Texas. Now he's running for Congress to give voters a choice.
We have a choice between communism and common sense.
The choice is clear. Brett Jensen for Congress.
I'm Brett Jensen, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message, paid for by Jensen for Texas.
It is amazing how many people see that Trump won the popular vote, and all of a sudden, not saying that Jensen's a guy who wouldn't have supported Trump anyway. Now all of a sudden they're like, we're Trump, we're MAGA, as hard as MAGA is, especially here in Texas, but everywhere. We have is it Cracker Smoker? I can't remember what Chris X calls you. On hold right now, Robert in Pearland. I will get to him after 5 o'clock. Then after we chat with Robert, we'll also play some audio of my interview with Senator Betancourt that aired on national radio, because a very big story that's probably not going to get a lot of coverage is actually happening here in Houston. And it might not be big in the way of having a huge impact on the actual results of our elections, but it might be big in how it gives you the roadmap to the bad stuff that the other guys are doing in all the other places. I truly think that that's what's actually going to happen as a side product of that. But we'll talk about Jasmine Crockett. We'll talk about a bunch of things, because how can you not when you're talking about that stuff, filling in on a different program right here. But I'm only going to play snippets of it because I can't play the long-form version. That would be stealing it from a place that isn't us, that has the rights to it. So I'll just react to it the way I react to anything else. So if you're curious why I keep interrupting the thing with Paul and I, it's because I can't go long form. It would be a very bad decision for a variety of reasons to do that. But anyway, this is the Chris X Radio Show. My name is Craig Collins, filling in. Thrilled to be with you. A lot of stuff to talk about. Mostly what I've referenced so far involves the Venezuela-U.S. potential conflict, what's going on between Russia and Ukraine, and where I potentially differ from even some people here at this radio station who you probably know and really like, people like Ben Strusand, who say one thing with a lot of reasons why to feel that it would be bad for the United States to offer protection to Ukraine in a long or even short form version of the end of that conflict. Beyond even that version of discussion, there is quite a bit going on that is none of these things. A crazy story involving Anthony Joshua, the boxer who just beat the tard out of one of the Paul brothers, and an accident. that happened. A, pretty close call with death that happened with Joshua, which is just surreal to be out there. This happened in Nigeria. A couple other people, trainers of his, friends of his, did die. So that story might feel bigger to some than it does to others. But a lot of stuff coming up in just a little bit. As I said, thrilled to be here. ChrisXRadio, Craig Collins filling in, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of
You're
Texas.
listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 KGBC Galveston.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The National Guard deployment in New Orleans begins today. President Trump authorized the heavy security presence for New Year's celebrations a year after an attack on revelers on Bourbon Street killed 14 people. Colin Arnold, the director of the New Orleans Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, says the Coast Guard, National Guard, and local police will be working together to keep the city safe.
It appears that we're going to have close to 800 law enforcement downtown in the French Quarter, and I think that's going to be outstanding. You're going to see an incredible visual presence in the French Quarter and throughout downtown over the rest of this week.
The U.S. military has carried out another strike on an alleged drug boat, as President Trump says they've also hit a South American port. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
U.S. Southern Command says it's conducted a strike on a boat in the eastern Pacific Ocean. The military says the vessel was engaged in narco-trafficking operations. It says 2 people were killed, and that brings the reported death toll to at least 107 in 30 known boat strikes by U.S. forces in the waters off South America. And President Trump told reporters Monday
there was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs.
in saying the U.S. wants responsible. I'm Ben Thomas.
A surge of Arctic air is bringing strong winds, heavy snow, and frigid temperatures to the Great Lakes and Northeast a day after a bomb cyclone that hit the northern U.S. Tens of thousands of customers were without power early Tuesday, with Michigan hardest hit. The National Weather Service predicts snow squalls and gusty winds for the eastern U.S. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 94 points, the S&P lower by 9. More at townhall.com.
At Audion Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
The voice for the new right, charting a new path forward for American conservatism. It's the Josh Hammer Show.
What is the alternative to engaging with your political opponents? To hearing out their criticism in as happy warrior-like fashion as you can have it. The day that we replace that with, God forbid, with violence, that's how republics die. There is nothing good down that road.
The Josh Hammer Show on the Salem Podcast Network. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
This True Sand commentary is brought to you by Ability Tree Experts.
Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
From KSEV, here's political contributor Ben Strusand.
We've all seen how Democrats cry racism when members of their voting coalition get into trouble. But this time, the rot crawling out of the lakes of Minnesota smells so much like dead fish, no Democrat can mask it. Over the last 4 years, members of the Somali population centered around Minneapolis have stolen over $1 billion from federal entitlement programs administered by the state. In one scheme, 86 people have been indicted by the DOJ for using a Somali charity called Feeding Our Future. They billed Medicaid for feeding poor kids lunch, supposedly $6,000 a week. The attendance rosters were bogus, with many of the names obtained off an internet website called listofrandomnames.com. The lunchrooms were parking lots and vacant office buildings. To recruit more kids, parents were paid kickbacks. State employees flagged the bogus payments, but the perps cried racism, so the state backed down and the scam continued. But that's just the beginning. During the same time, there was an epidemic of autism spreading amongst the Somali community, with over 1,000 treatment centers opening up in the Minneapolis area. The perps recruited the parents of Somali children to claim their children were autistic and enroll them in the program, for which they were paid kickbacks as much as $1,500. Medicaid paid for the treatment and transportation. Some parents blackmailed the perps, threatening to transfer their kids to other bogus programs if their kickbacks weren't bumped. Then there's the housing scam, which stole Medicaid money to help recovering addicts find housing. Same pattern. Lots of addicts who weren't addicts who were paid kickbacks. There are some 40,000 Somali immigrants living in the Minneapolis area and another 40,000 who are first-generation descendants, the vast majority of whom are honest, hardworking, and legal. The travesty is that the Democrat political machine, led by Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison, refused to prosecute the scammers, including the parents who were paid off Somali style out of fear of offending progressives and being accused of racism. We've seen for years the values exhibited by Representative Ilhan Omar, who represents this area in Congress. The best you can say is that she represents her district very well. I'm Ben Strusand, and that's my view.
Ben Strusand, only on AM 700 KSEV.
Looking to retire or retire right? Tune in to Retire Right Radio, powered by RobertsWealth.com. We take pride in educating soon-to-be and current retirees by focusing on what matters most to them. Your financial future is about more than just money. Find out how we can help you retire right. Saturday mornings at 8 on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Or search and subscribe to Retire Right Radio on your favorite podcast platform.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisXRadio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Chris X.
That's right. This is ChrisXRadio, the voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC. My name is Craig Collins, filling in for the X-Man, as he's called by a whole lot of people out there. Before I get to some of the audio of State Senator Paul Betancourt on a nationally syndicated radio show that I actually happen to also be hosting on, I want to get to, is it the Cracker Smoker? Am I getting that right, or is it something else? Robert in Pearland is on the air. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine. It definitely is something else. But, man, you're taking to this main stage thing like a duck to water.
Thanks, Dave.
I got to say, you're making it happen. You're the man. You're practically two-man.
Thanks.
And they say you can't crawl up out of your race car bed. I say, MAGA, please. That's what I say.
MAGA, please is just fine with me, man. I appreciate that a lot. This is not my first rodeo hosting radio, even though I wind up not hosting it here. So I appreciate the compliment, but this audience knows me very differently than I am professionally a whole lot of other places. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Okay. Oh, yeah, I never got to the main point. First, warning, did you ever listen to Steve Drake?
Yeah.
Did you know that I was listening to him this week, last week, and it turns out he vacations. Did you know he vacations in Steamboat Springs in Colorado?
I did not know that. I don't know why you know that or why.
Yeah, I don't
where
care
we're going
either.
with this. Yeah,
I don't care either.
That's fine. That's totally fine. I don't know what's in that place. I know nothing about the joke that's being made here, and I'm probably happy about that.
He's special.
Yeah, okay.
He's special.
He seems special.
Sort.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So I got my main point here, and that was I was working my usual corner down in Pearland the other day, and I saw a dude walking along, and he had a pure silver walking cane and a gold tooth. Now, I don't know if any of this relates to anything in the news. I'm just trying to be, a radio listener.
That's okay.
But he had a gold tooth.
Yeah.
He had a gold tooth and what looked like a shark skin suit, crocodile skin shoes, rings, necklaces,
of course,
and a big diamond tie pin.
Yeah,
I was impressed.
Yeah.
So as he walked to his Bentley, I had to catch up to him. I said, "Hey, dude, you are looking sharp. Where are you from?"
Yeah.
He said, "Minnesota." Minnesota? What? Are you a businessman? What is your business? And in a thick Middle Eastern accent I did not recognize, he said, "The daycare business."
Of course he is. Yeah,
and I thought, well, business is good.
Yeah.
And I cleaned his Bentley windshield, collected my $3, and he left. But I wondered, something doesn't seem right about that.
No. Yeah, there are some things that are wrong. Is that the whole thing? I don't know if I don't want to interrupt you, Robert. If there's more.
No.
Okay.
No, that's fine. That's the end of that story.
Dude, I love that. I love the fact that you rehearse these things and do these things for Chris X, and you've been calling in for a long time. I love it. I think it's great. I was told you rehearse. I was told you're writing it. Yeah, it does. I love it. But, dude, I will also tell you that as you were describing the guy, I've seen that guy before, and I mean that in reality.
Right.
Like, I've seen the dude that hops out of the crazy car with all the crazy stuff on, where, like, the crazy outfit matches the ridiculous color of the car. And you're like, dude, what does that guy do? And it absolutely makes sense that he's probably in daycare or, some form of maybe adult care in Minneapolis or in Minnesota, because that's the only way you can have that kind of money, man. That's the only way you can have it. But thanks for calling in.
Right. You bet.
All right, talk to you later. That is Robert in Pearland, who I can tell doesn't exactly like me, but also doesn't hate me, which is nice. I feel like I'm slowly winning him over, and that'll be fine. I feel good about that. All right, I do want to play a little bit of this audio. I can't play much of it, and I have to react to it because it is just audio I want to play, fair use as far as a conversation. You had a very big guy in Texas politics. His name would be Senator Paul Betancourt on a nationally syndicated radio show. He was having a conversation about the big thing that he did, and that would be yesterday. Don't play that back. The big thing he did, that would be yesterday, as far as going further in his attempt to stop any sort of voter corruption, voter fraud that exists here in Houston. But I'll let him do a better job than me of describing what actually happened, what's going on, what the problem is. Here was Senator Betancourt on the Dana Show earlier today talking about this exact thing.
Well, two things. You always want to recognize the obvious in politics. If you do, you're actually going to fix a problem. Now, You mentioned fraud real fast. Yeah, Minnesota, billions of dollars of fraud. We've had 14 million here in Texas. Yeah, it's open season on anything connected with the federal government giveaways, and people are scamming it. And 35% of the calls in the Social Security Administration are fraudulent, probably coming from Lagos, Nigeria, or whatever.
Crazy.
Okay, so you have to know that fraud exists. Now, on voters, yeah, this is a national issue. American Legislative Exchange Council. Alec we looked into this, and there's problems all over. Several 100,000 dead people on the rolls in Michigan. I can go down the list. In Harris County, I call them blueberries because in every red state there are blueberries. Okay. Well,
yes, I like that. I'm laughing at that twice, by the way, both here on this show and then actually on the other show.
Now. And the difference is the blueberries in the blue states are so crazy, like New York with Mendami or San Francisco, they're lost causes. So what happened is we passed a law 4 years ago that said you can't register in a P.O. box because nobody lives in a 2-inch by 3-inch P.O. box. You get your mail there. But, pick some other physical address, okay, and register. Well, sure enough, our Blueberry voter registration group at the time ignored the law, okay, for 3 years.
Of course.
And then this year we discovered this was up, so I used some of my laws, and I passed a lot of voter integrity legislation in Texas.
Good.
And basically said it's not an allegation, it's a fact. We found 120 people registered at P.O. boxes in two of the same places that were what we use as examples to pass the law 4 years ago in the first place.
Now, I want to stop it right there. It's crazy to me that it's so unapologetically fraudulent that Senator Betancourt goes as far as to, say, hey, we're going to pass this law a few years ago. We're going to use these example P.O. boxes, UPS places, that people shouldn't say they live at because you can't live at these places. And stuff like this should not be on our voter rolls anymore. He does that 4 years ago or 3 years ago. He's trying to see if they're actually listening to the law that he got passed. So he checks the exact same addresses, and lo and behold, darn it, there's still people registered at those places. That's unapologetic fraud. That's the version of we can't get caught, so why should we be afraid at all? And it's horrible. And it's the kind of thing you're seeing in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, and we kept going back and talking about that. It's the kind of thing you're seeing all these places. But the reality is, it's also, I essentially believe, the valuable template to explain to the American people what's probably going on. You very likely have a family member, if you're not actually this family member yourself, who says stuff, who believes certain things that everybody calls a conspiracy theorist. How dare you say that? How dare you believe that? Donald Trump definitely was wrong about that. And when they get to the point in the conversation, and I've been this person before, the person trying to, argue these points, I'll usually say, where are the receipts? Show me the receipts. Give me the proof of the thing you're saying, and I'm much more likely to accept it as fact because I want to believe it. I can see the logic in believing it, but I need to know the how. Paul Betancourt, Senator Betancourt, and many others throughout the country in the last, say, few years, if not the last few months, are going to give us a lot more of the how. And I desperately want it. And I want to know where else it's happening, how it's happening, and how we can stop it. Because the absolute most important part of this is not just the figuring it out, but it's the stopping it and the holding people accountable. Whoever you are, whatever you're doing, voter fraud, all kinds of, government waste, fraud, and abuse, whatever it might be, if you're doing it, the gauntlet has been thrown down. I think that that's hopefully true. And I honestly would say, outside of the fact that the YouTube guy did, the drive around in Minneapolis and caught a bunch of stuff, I think the catalyst to this gauntlet being potentially thrown down is also the death of Charlie Kirk. I think that someone being killed for what they believe did not quiet the thought because it never does. When you kill a thought leader, whoever they are, however much Charlie Kirk was a thought leader to some, or certainly behind the scenes influential in his ability to raise funds to help people win, and especially to inspire people of different generations to vote a way that they don't traditionally vote. Charlie Kirk absolutely made inroads with younger voters for the Conservative Party. When you kill someone because of their thoughts, because of their beliefs, and not because of, their attempted violence against you, you heighten their word, you heighten their meaning. And I feel like that hopefully is also the byproduct of this. In 2026, the thing I'm most hoping for, before I take a break and get to other things, is that we get the thing most of us have wanted when you voted Trump into office in the first place, and it's the rooting out of the deep state, at least in some way, shape, or form, and for real this time. Not the version of, Doge that did a good job but not a great job in rooting out corruption and saving us a bunch of money. We want the real thing. We want the police at the door, the people getting arrested, and a bunch of people being thrown in the hoosegow, regardless of if they're Republican or Democratic, because they're the people involved in the insanely corrupt version of society that we have right now. Still a better version of society than most places, but still inherently corrupt and needing to be changed. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens. That's my biggest wish for 2026, is that we have at least one, if not several videos of people being hauled off and locked up for the terrible things they did to steal our taxpayer dollars and your taxpayer dollars and everybody's taxpayer dollars, and hopefully a whole lot of them also being sent other places. Because even if you're living here legally, if you've blatantly broken a law to a degree that you've stolen millions of dollars from us, I think you need to go. I think the door needs to hit you where the good Lord split you. That's just personally my take on it. But all right, we'll take a break. We got a lot coming up. This is Craig Collins filling in on, I almost forgot what show, ChrisXRadio. Not because I forget Chris X, but I was filling in other places, a lot of other places today. But ChrisXRadio, the voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC, more coming up in a bit.
This report sponsored by Gallery Furniture. If made in America is important to you, come to Gallery Furniture. Buy it today, get it today. Gallery Furniture saves you money.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be clear and chilly with a low of 37. Tomorrow is expected to be mostly sunny with a high of 65. Tomorrow night will be clear with a low of 45. Thursday will be partly sunny and pleasant with a high of 71. Friday will be very warm, tying the record from 2000 with times of clouds and sun and a high of 81. Saturday will start with patchy morning fog that reduces visibility but will clear up to plenty of sunshine with a high of 73. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
Hurry out to Gallery Furniture's gigantic New Year's Super Sale for the best night's sleep of your life. Save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic sleep sets. Save up to $800 on Stearns & Foster sleep sets. Start your new year off right with the best sleep ever. This is a gift that keeps on giving, the gift of a great night's sleep. Better energy, better cognitive abilities, better ability to fight off viruses, sleep better, live better. It starts at Gallery Furniture. Free delivery tonight.
How many times have you switched your health insurance in the last few years? How many times have you wanted to switch your health insurance the last few years? If you're in good health and pay your own insurance, you don't have to settle for scary high deductibles or unaffordable premiums. Let American Medical Plans find the right plan for you at a price you can afford. Call 833-500-PLAN. No, this is not some ridiculous Obamacare plan with no doctors in a limited HMO. And it's not some rinky-dink insurance company that doesn't cover a single claim. No, this is real coverage for you and your family. Go to the doctors and hospitals you choose. Stop shopping around hunting for the best deal. American Medical Plans will do the hunting for you. Get you a better plan at a better price. You owe it to yourself to see what they can do for you. Get it done before the rates go up. Call American Medical Plans, 833-500-PLAN. That's 833-500-7526. Or go to AmericanMedicalPlans.com. American Medical Plans. Quality plans managed by you, not the government.
There's only one Trump conservative running for Texas comptroller. Don Huffines is a successful businessman who will bring a private sector mindset to the office and safeguard our tax dollars. A strong ally of President Trump, Don Huffines will stand with him to secure our border and stop all taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens. And Don Huffines will fight to eliminate every woke DEI program in every government agency in Texas. A champion for our conservative values, Don Huffines will stop transgender indoctrination in our schools and protect women's sports. That's why Don Huffines is endorsed by every major conservative organization in Texas, including Gun Owners of America and Texas Right to Life. Republican Don Huffines, the only Trump MAGA conservative running for Texas comptroller.
Political ad paid for by Don Huffines' campaign.
Whether you're playing with your kids or playing for the Houston Texans, a sprain, tear, or nagging ache can set you back. Until your expert orthopedic team at Houston Methodist uses advanced technology to personalize a treatment plan that's minimally invasive, healing your pain, and getting you back to life on your terms. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine. Official healthcare provider of the Houston Texans.
Are you looking to retire or retire right? Tune in to Retire Right Radio, powered by RobertsWealth.com. We take pride in educating soon-to-be and current retirees by focusing on what matters most to them. Your financial future is about more than just money. Find out how we can help you retire right. Saturday mornings at 8 on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Or search and subscribe to Retire Right Radio on your favorite podcast platform.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This is the voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC. My name is Craig Collins, filling in for ChrisXRadio. I'm going to do something I probably shouldn't do. I'm going to try to take a call live on the air. Caller, you're already live on the air. There's no version of you being not on the air. I am answering this call live on the radio. Caller, what's your name?
Chris.
Chris, what do you want to say, buddy? Is this Chris in Spring?
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Good, dude. I saw the phone ringing, and I'm like, nah, I can't do this any other way. Let's just answer it. Let's see who it is.
Hey, man, I love the multitasking. I wanted to give you a synopsis of a non-boomer assessment of Texas politics. So,
please,
millennial to millennial here.
Yes, sir.
So, you need to understand something. We're not a very conservative state. It's kind of a facade. The urban zones, the Darwin zones, they dictate everything. Like the commissioner's court right now, they have more power than Abbott, than Paxton. They're spending money, blowing budgets.
Yes.
Rodney Ellis is a criminal.
Yeah.
This is all what we do here in Texas. We like to play patty cakes with the other side. So I know the boomers are going to tell you otherwise, but we're kind of not. We still got this element of the Bush Mafia, too, that kind of hangs around.
Yeah.
And one of its lieutenants, John Cornyn, he's on his way out. But, it's kind of complicated. So I just want to give you a different perspective.
Stay on the air. I appreciate this. Stay on the air. Don't do the flyby
I'm not
thing
going
where you go.
anywhere.
Okay,
you
good.
hung
good.
up on me last time, by the way.
I did? Oh, I didn't think that.
I don't know
did.
what happened, but it dropped quick. It dropped quick. Go ahead.
All right. Anyway, my response to what you're saying is that I find that very interesting as a guy who's only been here for 8 or 9 months now. So I still think to some extent, and being honest with the radio audience, I'm learning the lay of the land in Texas. You know what the outside looking in thinks about this state. They perceive it to be a deeply conservative state and a whole lot of conservative people in positions of power. You said something about Cornyn. I hope he's on his way out. And I actually really hope that Wesley Hunt is the guy who kicks him out that door. Nothing against Paxton. I like Paxton. I like Wesley Hunt more. So I would like to see that be the goodbye sayonara version of a thing that happens. But it's interesting what you say and how you think we go about defeating it. I do think a lot of younger people who wind up on the right are more, and I don't want to use this term negatively, extreme than the people who are in older generations that are also on the right. I find that to be true more often than I believed it to be. And I think it's because what we're fighting for is different. I think at some point, the generations beyond myself are fighting for recognition of what they've known to be true for a long time, more than anything else. They want the society we live in to be better. But the truth is that all they're really fighting to do is prove that they were right the whole time. For people who are younger, it's not necessarily that. It's to make sure we fix the thing so it's good for 50 or 40 years, which is often, to me, something that people think is naive. We're never going to fix it, is usually a reaction I get when I say that. How do you react to what I'm saying in response to what you said about Texas?
Well, you start with the war in Iraq. You start with the financial crisis. You start with the debt.
Sure.
You start with, everything. I mean, we have revolutionary debt in the last 20 years. No one, and we're just ho-humming along. All it takes is for one person to stand up. They don't stand up. They don't fight. It's the state is the power, no question about it. Just like Hegel said, everything derives from the state.
Yeah.
And these people, they've learned from that. But we want to right the wrongs because, I mean, let me just give you an example. Eisenhower and Bradley, they were not very good generals. The war, the European war should have been over by Christmas.
Sure.
But, you had Montgomery doing his stupid stuff, Market Garden. I mean, Patton could have ended that war very soon. So there's a lot of perceptions out there that just aren't true.
Sure.
And, and the baby boomers, they've been, it's hard because this is all they've known their whole life. And now they're being, and people are trying to tell them, guys, you're wrong. You're wrong. Just like yesterday. I mean, I love Ben Strusan. Why would you buy a new car? Who buys new cars? That's like only boomers do that. Like just the whole thing.
Okay, hold on. A couple things I want to say, because I imagine there's people of other generations. You just said you're a millennial. I admit I'm a millennial. That might be like, these idiots. I hate these people. I'm happy with any.
I'm not saying they're idiots.
Yeah, no, I know. No, hold on. I said they're saying that about us. I assume they're saying that about us. But here's what I want to say in response to it is I like anybody that's on the same side of the aisle. So I like the fact that the older generations beyond mine overwhelmingly vote conservative. I like that. However, and I think this is the point you're making, Chris, there are bad guys across the board. There are bad guys in every pocket, every part. R in front of the name, D in front of the name, doesn't matter. There's a lot of what I call bad guys. We want those bad guys removed. I do feel like we're getting closer to being there. I do feel like some of the stuff that's coming out and some of the people who are reporting it, whether it's a Gen Z YouTuber or not, are getting us closer to that finish line where you see who all the bad players are.
Yeah, the Gen Z crowd and the social, they have ulterior motives. So you got to be very, very skeptical with their motives.
Sure.
A lot of that is just for views, which is disingenuous into itself. I mean, we're trying to preserve the republic. We're not trying to preserve your
right.
financial
gains.
and everything
your
else.
social media account. Yes, that's true.
Right. So, that with that, but I want to, you're going to see this very soon. The game in Texas is a very sad game. I mean, bless the state of Florida. I mean, they're light years ahead. DeSantis, give him credit. He learned. He adapted. He did what needed to be done. I just want to, until what we need to do, Craig, is we need to get it to where FDR is no longer a top 5 president, because that man and those policies destroyed everything, and nobody fixed it. And here we go, ho-humming along into oblivion.
Sure. I can tell how much of a historian you seem to be. Why are you so, can I ask you this just as a side note, not having anything to do with the political topics you're talking about? Why are you so interested in this stuff as a millennial?
Well, I've always been interested in politics. I mean, I'm a political science degree and all that good stuff. It's been a
lifelong thing of yours.
In me.
Gotcha. And
no, I prefer history over politics. But those two kind of converge.
They do converge. Well, I meant that. Like, why the interest in so much of the historical information that obviously always repeats itself?
Because most of history is a lie anyway. I mean, honestly, I don't want to be crass, but it's pretty obvious the wrong side won World War I. I mean, the Allies.
Wow.
They got a little too power hungry, and look what they did. They caused Hitler. I mean, they created this because they were so. I digress. I don't want to get into that.
Well,
but,
I'm tempted to ask you one thing. You put it out there, so now I'm tempted to ask you one thing. Are you someone that at times winds up defensive of people like Hitler, or no?
No. My ancestors are from Prussia. I just want the Kingdom of Prussia to return. That's all I want.
That's
Prussia, not Russia.
I got you. I just wanted to see where we went. I didn't know how far we were going down like the Nick Fuentes rabbit hole.
Hitler wasn't Austrian. He wasn't even a German.
Okay.
He was a psychopath.
Yeah,
but to be fair, if he would have let his generals, run the Eastern operation, that would have been a whole different ordeal.
Oh, I don't know.
He was an idiot to himself.
Well, okay.
Well, and another thing, they never built a long-range bomber. That you couldn't take out the Russian factory, so that was just suicide as well, too.
Sure. I appreciate all of it. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you for calling into the show.
Craig, you're the man, dude. I appreciate it. You and Chris do a great job.
Thank you. That's Chris in Spring, a regular caller to the show. I didn't want to argue with him too much more. The man definitely seems like a history buff, to say the very least. But I think there's no version of a scenario where you go back in time where America doesn't kick the crap out of Germany in World War II, eventually, somehow, some way. I mean, the storming the beaches at Normandy is the thing that demonstrates that we were winning that baby no matter what. And so I know he made that quick, light reference to how Adolf Hitler might have screwed up in how he ran the war. I don't think it matters. Adolf Hitler, scumbag, bunch of people scumbag, and the United States would have kicked his rear straight into, where he went, essentially into hell, regardless of what decisions they made. And I'm sure that Chris probably actually agrees with that. Maybe it just would have been more complicated. At least I'm guessing he agrees with that. But all right, I'll take another break. A lot coming up, a lot to get to. This is Craig Collins filling in on ChrisXRadio, the voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC. Thrilled to be with you right here in Houston on the 30th of December, live today and live tomorrow. I will mention that, too. I am going to do a live show tomorrow for Chris at this station. So we will be live on New Year's Eve, and we will actually usher in New Year's Eve, I think, in, the UK or some of the places that will hit 12 o'clock midnight while we're on the air here at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock our time in Houston, Texas. A quick break, a lot more coming up in a bit.
About Chip Beresford and the Pine Box, and saving money during one of life's most difficult times, the death of a loved one. Now, Chip is taking his revolutionary low-price, high-value concept to the service side of funerals and cremations with Beresford Funeral Service. Call Chip at 1-888-PINE-BOX or visit thepinebox.com. Chip not only saves people money on caskets, he now offers affordable funerals and cremations with his own funeral home. The average cost of a simple funeral today can easily exceed $10,000. At Beresford's Funeral Service, families now can save thousands of dollars on funerals and cremations without sacrificing quality or dignity. Haven't you lost enough already? When that time comes, call Chip at 1-888-PINE-BOX or visit thepinebox.com. That's Chip at 1-888-PINE-BOX or visit pinebox.com.
Hi, y'all. It's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. You know, with all the scary stuff we've been through, it's still true that timing is everything, and the time to buy is now. But don't go looking without a solid pre-approval in hand. And this includes an application and a detailed discussion about property taxes. If you didn't have the talk, about property taxes, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. Mortgages are personal. Let's face it, we're dealing with your home and your money, and it doesn't get much more personal than that. When it's the largest transaction that most people will ever be involved in, imagine having someone on your side looking out after you. What a concept. We audit your closing statement to make sure you're not paying for things that you're not supposed to. Do you think your big bank's going to do that? Probably not. For all of your mortgage needs, call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213. Shopping insurance? Contact Joe Wardell. He's an independent agent, and he can look at what you have, shop and see. His number, 281-944-9025. Joe Wardell, 281-994-9025.
If you want to sell your business, Sunbelt Texas. Their website, sunbelttexas.com. Or contact Dan at 281-440-5153. He does a great job and really helpful. Give Dan a call today, 281-440-5153. Sunbelt Texas.
Listen up, Texas conservatives. A full-blown communist is now the mayor of New York City. Here is Zohran Mamdani in his own words.
I am a democratic socialist, and most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
President Trump is fighting back.
We have a choice between communism and common sense.
And that choice for Texas is Brett Jensen for Congress. Brett Jensen, Texas job creator, Trump conservative, and proud capitalist. When communists try to tear our country down, Jensen will stand up and fight. Listen.
I'm here to defend capitalism. Capitalism is what made America great.
Brett Jensen started his first business at 13, created thousands of jobs in Texas. Now he's running for Congress to give voters a choice.
We have a choice between communism and common sense.
The choice is clear. Brett Jensen for Congress.
I'm Brett Jensen, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message. Paid for by Jensen for Texas.
Jingle bell rock. Jingle bells swing and jingle bells ring. Snowing and blowing.
This is ChrisXRadio on the Voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC. Thrilled to have you with us. A bunch of stuff out there to talk about is something I usually say whenever I do radio anywhere. Chris in Spring called back, and he made sure to correct what I might have misunderstood, and saying that he also believed that the United States had 100% punched the ticket for Adolf Hitler to go to hell. They were in that war in World War II, regardless of what other decisions could or might have been made by the generals of the Nazi military. They were going to lose, and they were going to lose profoundly. And then he also reiterated something I did hear him say, which is he think the wrong side won World War I. I wouldn't say that either. But that's to have a discussion some other day, to have a discussion at some other point, because I think I understand the deep meaning behind the sentiment, which is that people abuse their ability to control certain aspects of our society, of our country, of our world when they, won. That the prevailing side, not necessarily the United States, although I'm not sure exactly where anyone would land on yes or no there. I would land more on no. But people abuse the power they're given. I can agree with that sentiment way beyond historically pointing to this moment or that moment and say that this is the catalyst to what's bad in our society now. Because anytime anyone gets put in a position of power, here, I'll say it this way, and then I'll move on. The ongoing conflict between the United States and Venezuela is in part because of how horrible of a place Venezuela is right now. I'm not saying that I want the United States to be the world police, but if you were attacking anything about a society that was much happier, the vitriolic response to it would be stronger. Of course, yes, you're hearing people in political places scream and yell, and then you get polls that say the American people overwhelmingly don't want to see war with Venezuela. But I think if you were more specific in those polls and asked the people if they want to see amount of drugs that come into our country from Venezuela continue, or the way that the oil industry is used and oil trade is used by Venezuela, Russia, and China to circumvent the things the United States tries to do to be, capable of, say, financially motivating our adversaries to do things or not do things based on what we want. the disruption of that oil trade will be a huge conduit to getting us to the point where we actually can have the sanctions matter against Russia, against China. So it's vitally important. It's tremendously important. It's the biggest reason I think Trump is confident that if he had been in office a few years ago, he would have known what steps to take to stop Russia from invading Ukraine to begin with. And part of that would have been what's happening with Venezuela. But I digress. When you get in the position of power, you abuse it. Here, I'll make this more generic. And I don't know if this helps at all. And I know that some people are going to roll their eyes at a 40-something-year-old ranting about this. But the amount of people who don't know the history of communism or socialism and the amount of young people who think this is a good idea is terrifying. It is beyond frightening. The people who have no idea, about the crumbling of the wall or any of the stuff that should matter in being a demonstration of, hey, this was really bad. We fought against it the ways we did, and the society we have now is better off because communism didn't take hold. It didn't take root, and all the things like it didn't wind up being successful, like socialism, because inevitably horrible stuff happens. You cannot consolidate power. Actually, you know what? Let me say it this way, because I'm dancing around what I actually want to say. Jimmy Carr is a comedian that I love at times. I don't like him at other times, but he's very funny in how he talks about the terribleness of the idea of socialism or communism. A great idea, wrong species. Human beings are not capable of being selfless enough to do any of the versions of the thing that they claim would be better than capitalism. All of these other things that they claim would be better than the thing we have now rely on people being selfless, and it's just not possible. People cannot do it. They will not do it. Once power is consolidated, people abuse it. I mean, you're seeing that in Minnesota and years of ignoring the amount of gotchas that happened where people outed the fraud, and then the fraud just kept going. Who cares? Why not? Let's keep going. We're loving business as is. How dare we do anything else? It is absolutely stupid in my mind to think that those better systems out there, according to young people, would actually work, because all of them make things even worse than the amount of corruption and things we have now. Picture our corruption on an even grander scale if we're surrendering so much of the power to the politicians before we even get to the point where we say what corruption is and what corruption isn't. That's when you have people silenced on the street for their dissent. This is something we actually sort of saw during COVID, but you could see it much worse in those other societies where you say the wrong thing about the government and you're hauled off and disappear like you might do in Russia or some other places. All right, another thing out there, shifting gears, I do think this is interesting. A police drone was the subject of a Wall Street Journal article, and that might seem like an odd transition, but I really think this is kind of fascinating. Police in Miami, in Florida, are using drones to fly over the beach when it's supposed to be closed to see if people are on the beach, and then it's essentially identifying the people and mailing them tickets. If they have a way to identify these people via the videos and face recognition and, your driver's license or what have you, if there's some way to do it, they'll mail you a ticket. If they can't do that, they show up on the beach and they write you a ticket. But the drone is the catalyst to people getting in trouble. And they say this is going to happen way more. This is the kind of thing where drones might fly over intersections or fly over highways during, heavy traffic times and just see, acknowledge, and write tickets throughout the country. Whether or not that's allowed to happen in some places, I'm sure will be litigated. This does feel a lot like a version of Big Brother, and it also feels a lot like a version of extortion. And I know that that's the take people will have on it. At the same time, and I'm just saying this to say it, if I don't want to pay the ticket that the drone is going to catch me breaking this law, I do have the choice to not break the law. So I want to put both caveats out there. I want to say that you are capable of not speeding, of not running the red light, of not doing the thing that you might be spied on and doing, and that would prevent them, hopefully, from sending you the random ticket in the mail. But also, I do think that using this to a ridiculous degree might actually be bad for our society, as I assume many people think it might be bad for our society. This wouldn't be good to have, drones flying in the sky over every intersection, everywhere in the country, getting us for every little thing. If the speeding ticket is for 5 miles over the speed limit, that's bad. That's gouging society. That's trying to turn something into a, financial vehicle, which the government is good at doing, as opposed to the opposite. But I do think it's interesting that the Wall Street Journal took the time to do the deep dive in what essentially for now is not a thing happening in a lot of the country, but might be. And this is actually somewhat reacting. Ben Strusand, very funny, yesterday commented about the delivery of stuff via Amazon drone. I think this is happening in Dallas now. It's definitely happening in Arizona, California, a bunch of places. More and more people are ordering stuff that gets delivered same day via drone. Here's the reason I think that's a terrible idea, outside of the fact that a whole lot of us are going to want to shoot those drones down when they fly over our house, even if you're not allowed to do that. We're going to want to. The other reason I think it's a terrible idea is I almost never need something delivered immediately. And when I do, I don't want anyone to know it's getting delivered. What I mean by that is I've forgotten an anniversary. This means that I screwed up for the missus. She said to me that she's so excited for later tonight because we're going out to eat or something. And I'm like, oh, crap, I have 2 hours to get her a gift. And she might even be home with me in this situation. This is where I really, really want the drone to fly in as quietly as possible and leave the thing in the backyard. Or maybe even leave it like in my closet or something so I can pretend it's been there the whole time. I feel like the technology is there, but then you also have to distract the missus to have her not pay attention to the drone or any of the loud noises being made so that she's unaware that something is delivering a last-minute gift to me. That's the biggest problem I have with this, is that it won't work for the thing I most want it to work for. All right, one last topic, and then I'll take my last break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. And I will say one other thing. I'll just say this quickly. I'm aware I talk fast. I am. I've been told that a lot of places that I've been before. I'm also aware that I laugh at a lot of my own jokes. I'm aware of these things. If you're annoyed by these things, I know about them. Whether or not I can change them, yet to be seen. And hopefully at times, if I fill in a lot on a show like this, it becomes something that is less annoying to those out there that dislike it, but I can't help it. You are who you are, in a way. The last thing I want to talk about is Adam Kinzinger, crying Adam Kinzinger, as he's being referred to on social media. He went out of his way to pick one of the dumbest fights that I think anybody's picking in politics. Kinzinger went on social media, I think this was 2 or 3 days ago, and said that he can't wait for Trump to be out of office in 3 years because, according to Adam Kinzinger, all the stuff that has Trump's name on it, all the things that have been renamed by this administration, they're going to take all those signs down and they're going to have a bonfire in the middle of the Capitol and light all that stuff on fire. These are Kinzinger's exact words. We will literally have a big bonfire on national TV and ceremoniously destroy any memory of the Trump presidency. That is beyond stupid, insane. It's so many things, but also it's so petty in the way that only politicians can be. The people who care about the added name of this building or that building are by and large, I think, people closely tied and connected to, or at least people tremendously interested in politics. They're not the everyday people like you and me. I don't care. I show up at one building, it's got a name, fine, great. I don't usually think about it a lot more than that, especially if the name were Trump or someone else. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. I'm probably going to this building for something that has nothing to do with what it's called. I'm glad I could find it on my GPS, but at the end of the day, I'm barely thinking about it. It is hilarious, the amount of people that fight about this stuff, the amount of people that want to change the names of certain things because they think somehow it's bad. It's not woke. It's something, that they are offended by. Because to me, it's just the freaking name on the top of the building, and you go in and you do whatever it is you're meant to do there, and it doesn't impact you ever again. So not only is Kinzinger wrong about this, I think he's uniquely stupid to even want to talk and fight about this. And the people who might respond positively to the thing he's saying, by and large, are people I feel bad for, because that means they don't have enough going on in their life to care about other things beyond the stupid, horrible, terrible names that Trump has, or buildings, that Trump has put his name on, which is, to me, absolutely awful if that's really what you fall asleep at night struggling to get over before hopefully you eventually go to bed. All right, one last quick break, and then a lot coming up to end the show in a very short amount of time. My 8th hour on the radio today, actually. Thrilled to be here for 2 hours with you on ChrisXRadio, the voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC.
AMCO transmission and AC specialists. People who know go to AMCO. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble AMCO with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that Chris X sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862 or online at humbleamco.com.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate in O'Hara Homes. Davy Crockett addressed the Tennessee Congress after losing his bid for a seat. You may all go to hell. I'm going to Texas. Apparently, a lot of other people from other states are feeling the same way lately. We have people coming to Texas from every state in the union. I think they are looking for a state with more conservative views. The word Texas comes from the Caddo Native American language, which means friends or allies. Texans are some of the friendliest people on the planet. If you're moving from another state, Texans will treat you well. If you're fleeing from a liberal state, leave those views there. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393. Again, that's 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. If you need any type of construction work done, call O'Hara Homes at the same number, 281-373-3393. Davy Crockett ended up being an historical figure in Texas history and embodied the Texas spirit. God bless America and God bless Texas.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts.
Beautiful and healthy trees increase your property value, but sick, ugly trees will decrease the value of your home. That's why I recommend you call Ability Tree Experts at 281-441-4179. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can replace.
That's why you need to call my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts. I've known them for over 40 years.
Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. Well-fed and pruned tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs. So don't wait to protect your investment. Call Louis Flory now at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, receive a deep root feeding with every tree pruned. That's Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Remember when you got an honest day's work for an honest day's pay?
Seems like days gone by.
And Roland, remember when you could watch the news on television and actually believe what you heard?
I wish those days would return.
Remember when you could count on a contractor to do a great job and you would be happy with the result?
On that, you just need to call the right contractor.
This is Deb and Roland Tejada from Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. Integrity matters to us now just as it did then.
Tejas Roofing is a family-owned company. We have a proven record of excellence and the skill to get the job done right. And yes, you can count on that.
We care about your hard-earned money, and we want you to be happy with your investment. When you need roofing repairs, a new roof, or remodeling, call us at Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304. Your Houston Roofing and Remodeling Company. See our work online at TejasRoofingandContracting.com, 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
This is the Voice of Texas, KSEV, KGBC. My name is Craig Collins, filling in on Chris X Radio. Thrilled to be with you for about 8 more minutes, 7 more minutes or so. Why not have a little fun on the radio? Darn it, I did a very serious show today, more serious than I intended to do, and more ranting than I intended to do, but darn it, we're here. It's over. Let's go ahead and move on. I love a few stupid stories out there that I saw. The first one is advocating for something called naked flying, and it's not what you think. You show up with all your clothes at the airport, so you're not flying naked. You're not getting arrested, which would be something that would happen relatively quickly if you did this the other way. You're flying without anything at all luggage-wise. You show up with your phone, your charger maybe in a pocket, your wallet, your keys, nothing else. It's just you and the airline. I've done this before, and I get criticized for doing this. My wife thinks it's crazy. In Mexico, she's got her own room in her parents' house still. They've not taken stuff out of it. They leave it there because she's the only member of her family that lives here in the United States. So we leave a lot of stuff in Betty's room in Mexico, so I don't need to bring stuff. I have clothes there. I have everything I need. And so I will often go with nothing. Or I'll bring luggage that's not actually mine. It's stuff Betty put into a backpack that I'm asked to hold or something else that I'm asked to carry. But by and large, I bring nothing. And I feel great about it, and I feel wonderful, and it's the best version of travel. I highly recommend it. You can't do it a lot of places. If you're only going somewhere for a couple days, it's not the worst thing to do. I'm going to roll the dice and take another call in the air. This is KSEV Radio. You're live on the radio. Who is it? Who's on the air?
Professor Greg Collins.
I thought it would be Jimmy X. That's why I rolled the dice one more time. I thought it was you. How you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm out for a little walk around the neighborhood, listening to the show.
Nice.
And was inspired to call in after my man Chris in Spring.
Okay, cool. What do you want to talk about?
Well, first of all, I agree with a lot of what Chris says. Generally, I am a boomer, okay? Born in 64, so it makes me the last year of being a boomer.
Gotcha.
But I'm not an old school Republican either, okay? I'm with you 110%. Wesley Hunt needs to be the junior senator.
Yeah, I love the
in
guy.
The state of Texas.
I love him. I think he's awesome.
Okay. Second thing is, so El Senatore gets on air on your show, Dana Lash.
Yes.
And talks about all of these addresses still being used.
Yes.
2 and 3 years post law.
Yep.
What's going to happen? What's the accountability?
I hope they're actually going to be held accountable. I hope that. I think that's the.
No.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
They should have been arrested already.
Sure.
Greg is what I'm saying.
I get it.
It's just like the Somalia thing. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you not know about that?
I know.
Okay, we should know that we've got fraudulent people registered to vote.
Yes.
Okay? And so that, we control the governorship, we control the Senate, we control the House. Okay? We have an attorney general. Where is he? Why is he not issuing warrants and subpoenas and finding out and putting these people in jail for registering at a PO box?
Yeah. I can see the parallels between you and Chris in Spring, where you're saying that there's a lot of people in on it and a lot of people that aren't making society better for us, and they all need to be held accountable regardless of what side of the aisle they're on. Am I getting that part right?
Well, yes, but in Minnesota, we don't control the mechanisms of government like we control right here in Texas.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
We control it. Let's enforce it.
Yes.
Hold people accountable, because Minnesota's the tip of the iceberg, man.
I agree with
you. Doge found out fraud everywhere.
They did.
All right? And if you're on the Marxist side, I guess we should call you pro-fraud, right? I mean,
apparently, yeah. Yeah, you're very pro-fraud if you're on the Marxist, communist,
you're pro-fraud,
whatever version of socialist side they say it is. Here, I have a question for you, and it's just kind of interesting in what you're talking about and how much more control Texas has than most places, and yet still none of this stuff gets fixed. What is the end result in the next couple of years for you to get it? Is it just people who are afraid? Is it the fact that you don't want your friends who you've met in politics to be the ones in trouble? Is that why the political outsider is so important to people believing that, like, we actually get change by getting people 2 or 3 steps removed from the crap system that exists? Is that the issue or no?
We need to drain the swamp in Texas, okay? We've
Sure.
got a lot of people that have R's behind their names that don't live up to the principles of what it means to be a conservative Republican.
Yeah.
We need more Brian Harrison, okay, and less blowhards like Tom Ramsey, okay? Now, Tom's at the Harris County level.
I know.
think he's a huge blowhard.
Sure.
Okay. I know the amigos love him, and he gets on. He talks all big, and when a conservative sees a problem, they go and fix it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Slapnut, how about just addressing, issues in your district? Okay, like traffic on Beltway 8, which you control.
He does.
Okay, but nobody wants to talk about those kind of things.
What's funny? What's funny is I've only been in Texas for a short amount of time. I was at a different radio place for a very short amount of time before I was here. And I've already interviewed Tom, because you are right. He seems to be a guy who wants a lot of attention. I don't know if the results match the amount of attention that he's trying to get. And those people uniquely hurt us as well. But I will say this, and it's not in a defense of him. It is hard to be the only conservative guy in a Democratic room. And so I just wish they knew how to fight better and not give in as much, because, I don't know, I guess they want some version of getting something done, and they know they have to vote a certain way a lot of the time, and then occasionally try to get a win in there. It is bad when you're giving in as much as they give in. What were you going to say?
Well, Professor, then find issues that don't define politics, like one I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Addressing traffic in this city.
Yes.
Addressing traffic on our toll roads,
yes.
which should not exist. Okay? That can be solved if we just exercise good government. Okay? Like,
amen.
Here's a big one. Tearing down the toll booths on Beltway 8 that are obsolete, that cause traffic jams all day long.
Yeah, that is a very good use of money.
There.
You're totally right about that. That needs to be changed. You know what, Jimmy?
How about we cross the aisle?
Yes. You know what, Jimmy? You and I should do a show from those places just to tell them how much we need them to be taken down. That's it. That's the show. Thank you to Jimmy X for calling in. Thank you to everybody for being a part of it. Thrilled to be in for Chris X.
You're listening
See
to
you later.
the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 KGBC Galveston.